My name is Dr. Maria Ilcheva, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Jorge Perez Metropolitan Center at FIU. I'm also currently serving as the Vice Chair of the Women's Fund of Miami-Dade. And I've been in this position for just a couple of months, starting in February 2022. My relationship with the Women's Fund began probably about almost a decade ago. It's an organization that has been in our community for a long time, and me as a member of the community and working on issues that elevate and advance women and girls are naturally intersected with the work of the Women's Fund. I've given presentations to some of their events. I've provided data for some of the impact collaborators, and have generally been supportive of their work as I mentioned, intersect with my personal interests and my professional abilities as a data scientist to provide the evidence that the fund and other organizations working on these issues need to develop actionable strategies to address some of the challenges that persistently plague women and girls in our community. The most important part of the Women's Fund mission that resonates, that is really impactful to me and I think to our community, is the fact that we are growing, generating for some portions of our community, as Miami-Dade is very transient, meaning we have new people coming in, our people moving out, but it is important for that work to be sustained in terms of generating awareness on issues, especially on disparities that impact women and girls in the community, and trying to advance some solutions in a collaborative fashion to address these issues. That's one of the most important missions, goals of the Women's Fund, is to create this collaborative network of organizations that are already working on these issues, but beyond that, to expand it to people who may not be aware of the issues, who may not think that these issues impact them in the community, and through this collective action, really advance our community and make progress on issues related to the advancement of women and girls. My involvement with the organization, as I mentioned, has been for over a decade now. And through that involvement, I've heard many of the stories of both from an organizational perspective about the Women's Fund leadership, as well as personal stories of women and girls who have been impacted by the work. To me, as a data scientist, as a researcher, it's always fascinating to hear about stories that talk about people not knowing how a certain issue is unfolding in the community. And especially our younger generation, who we are involving in our work as impact agents, as volunteers to many our events, as a way to provide them a gateway to understand and to network with the community. I hear stories about, I didn't know this was really happening. I didn't know the disparities were so large. I didn't know there was something I or my peers in my generation can do, because now we know what the issues are, and now we know what levers to push as a result of these networking opportunities, as a result of the understanding of the ecosystem of organizations serving women and girls, how we can be involved and how we can have a meaningful impact. So the understanding of the issue through the data that we are providing at the Women's Fund is an important piece of that puzzle of collective action. To me personally, as somebody who is very focused on gender equity and building the ecosystem of organizations that can create meaningful change in that regard, the most meaningful part personally of the Women's Fund is that collaborative work. The issues are bigger than us individually. They're even bigger than individual organizations. And it is through collective actions that I believe we can make change happen, make positive change happen in that goal of advancing women and girls. I am committed to providing that information again as a data scientist, as a researcher, as somebody who understands our community, having lived in it for over 20 years now, with all its challenges, with all its beauty and uniqueness and attractiveness to outsiders. I am committed to continue to highlight these issues and building up support and raising awareness on how we can make a collective impact on it. I stepped in my position as the vice chair of the Women's Fund only a couple of months ago, but I have been on the board for close to 3 years. It will be 2 years in just a few months. And I believe that this vision that has been consistent. Consistency is a big part of our work for the last 3 decades of advancing women and girls. I'm committed to continue to work towards that goal. My vision for the fund as an organization is not just about staying the course. It's about expanding our work. Research, which is the initiative that is new to the Women's Fund as of this new board cycle, starting in 2020 and augmenting it in 2021, is to provide the evidence. We know there is a lot of information out there that is siloed, but my vision for the Women's Fund is to become not just the town square where the discussions happen, where the solutions emerge naturally as a result of our work with other organizations and partnerships with community activists, nonprofits, government, and even the private sector. My goal is to inform that decision making, to inform that collaborative work through the research that we will provide. We will serve as a single repository, not just for secondary data that many other sources can provide to us, but ultimately get the information on impact from the many wonderful organizations that serve in our community and whose work is not highlighted enough and who are not provided with sufficient resources to expand their work and to continue serving the community in a broader sense with more resources, with more dedication, and with more community support. So I believe in the mission of the Women's Fund as that long-standing organization that has consistently served towards that goal, but now in an expanded and augmented goal through research.